What's up, everybody? Shauna D Man here. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are doing great. Hope you guys are having yourselves a great week. We are back with our episode 7 review of season 2 of Andor. And as before, episodes 7, 8, and 9 are all going to be the reviews are all going to be in this particular video, just cut up, just because it's a lot easier to review this series that way with them just dropping 3 episodes each week. So this week we got 7, 8, 9, and then next week is the final part of the Andor saga. But before we jump into the review, if you're new to the channel, be sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Be sure you comment below. You can also find my gaming channel down in the description below. Go over there and check that out. We are currently playing Awakening the Clone Wars mod for Star Wars Empire at War. And then also, as we are every Saturday, Chill Stream Saturday, we are continuing with Ghost of Tsushima, so you definitely don't want to miss out on that as well. With that out of the way, let's jump into the episode review. And again, there are moments where this was probably a moment where I was kind of like, there are moments watching this series with them doing the 3 episodes and then a year jump where you miss stuff that probably seems really interesting that I want to see. So obviously a year jump. Now in season 1, Andor took the Imperial TIE freighter, or I guess whatever you want to call it, crashed and took it to Yavin. Place was overrun, didn't look great. We pick up here with a bunch of new recruits landing on Yavin, fully getting functional, getting set up, getting ready to go, turning into the rebel base that we know from Rogue One and from A New Hope. Again, this has been about a year. We actually see Willman back. He comes back, and I'm curious on what happened with Saul Guerrero and his section of rebels. Like this is the thing where if they were releasing, or maybe had more seasons, there's probably a lot more storyline that we could have gotten, but because they've had to condense it, we are going to miss out on several storylines potentially. But Willman arrives on Yavin with a bunch of new recruits. He goes and sees Bix, and he goes and sees Cassian. Both of them living relatively comfortable. Cassian looks like he was suffering from a blaster burn. And it looks like it looks like Cassian and Bix have not talked to Luthen in quite some time. Maybe a year or so. Now, again, I could be wrong. There's not really an indication because the way the conversation between Willman and Cassian goes, because Willman seems to be very on hands with Luthen now. He's been traveling to Gorman. He's been assisting with the Gorman rebels. And so he passes on information to Cassian that, Luthen wants to know if you're ready to go. You've been ignoring him. He's tried to reach out to you. You haven't been responding. It seems like something happened that did a small fallout between these two, between Luthen and Cassian. I don't know if we'll get it resolved because of the fact that we only have so much time. And we do learn a year has passed, obviously. Deidre is on Gorman now. She's been there for quite some time. Like, Will is basically offering an opportunity to Cassian to take her out. Like, there will never be a more perfect opportunity to take her out. She's responsible for Will's dad being killed. She's responsible for Ferrex. She's responsible for hunting everybody that they know and love. This is an opportunity that they can't pass up. Now, is this Luthen talking through Will? Or is this Will? Because he even says this is not about revenge. It's not. But it's... I'm curious. I'm very curious to know what happened. The small little falling out. But needless to say, Cassian's late for a briefing. It seems like, again, the rebels are starting to They're not there yet. They're starting form and mass. They're not individual cells. Like obviously, there's still individual cells, like say Phoenix Squadron from Star Wars Rebels that have yet to come into the fold. So there's still aspects of Rebel cells that have yet to realize there's a much bigger rebellion going on. Um, and so we go over to Coruscant, where we get to see Mon Mothma and her assistant make their. I guess they're going to the Senate building. The driver drops them off, and the driver's he's being a little sketch because he's like, they want to know your schedule. The Senate security wants to know like parking and that kind of stuff. And Mon Mothma's like, oh, I'll talk to him. It's fine. We'll walk. It won't be a big deal. I'll take care of it. And she like talks to her assistant and is like, I'm requesting a new driver. And he's like, don't. They might send someone who's smart. So this was also something that was hinted back in episode season 1, where Mon Mothma's driver was potentially a Imperial agent working undercover to keep tabs, maybe not just on Mon Mothma but other senators as well, to see if there's any kind of issues that they're saying behind closed doors. And so this is where we see the senator from Gorman talking with Mon Mothma, and talking about how like the Empire is not hiding it anymore. They're bad at lying at it now. Like everybody knows it's the Empire that's causing issues. But again, nobody really wants to speak out against the Empire in fear of reprisal from the Emperor himself. But now it seems like it's gotten to a point where the representative from Gorman probably doesn't care, because like he tried to like not rock the boat, and even when Mon Mothma advocated that she can get votes to overturn this Gorman legislation, it seems like a little bit too late. From it looks like, and he was basically just telling Mon Mothma he wishes, he's always admired her grace to protect herself, and you tell she looks very emotional. I don't know if it's like he's gonna do something, if he's gonna like stand up to the Emperor during like a hearing or something like that. I'm be curious to know what's going to happen to him the rest of the way. And then that's pretty much it for Mon Mothma. We just get this small little scene with her. On Gorman, more security forces seem to have been coming. Dedra has a meeting with Pendergrass, and he just came back from a meeting with the Emperor and Krennic, and they're enjoying the work that she's been putting forward, but they're going to stick to their original plan. All other options, basically, for the coding of the Death Star reactor lenses have failed. He mentions, or is it Aradu, where I believe, I don't know at this point, Galen Erso is there or not, but he mentions that Krennic's team scientists have been spent the past year trying to, replicate or do something different, but they need the material from Gorman. And so they're moving in. The fleet will be in about 24 or 48 hours. They're going to begin a resettlement, because the planet's not going to be there. They've got to basically destroy the planet to get this material. So they're going to potentially start to work on the resettlement program, as long as, fitting within Krennic's schedule. And then Dedra seems a little kind of like unsure of it herself right now. I'm curious to see if both her and Cyril have a change of heart in regards to what the Empire is doing here. Because we even see Cyril, like he comes to see her, and gets stopped, and like we have a new guy, Captain Kaido, who is going to answer to her operationally, but tactically it's at his own discretion. And we do see him bringing in like basically fresh recruits, like looks like kids, as Deidre mentioned later on in the episode. We do see her, Deidre, and Cyril have a conversation. It seems like he is being kept in the dark, and she's just telling him, just go home, pack your bag, be ready to leave when I tell you. It'll all be good for the better. We'll be back home. We'll be back on Coruscant. We'll be together. We'll be rewarded for the work we've been putting in here. But it just seems like, he has been kept in the dark. There's some stuff that he doesn't know that's going on. She kind of like kisses him to, maybe not distract him, but kind of like, get him to stop talking, because they believe the Gorman rebels are being helped by outside agitators. So people who are not a part of Gorman, the rebellion, for instance, Luthen is potentially helping the rebels, and it's escalating things a little bit more. And even Deidre mentions the Pentagrist. She's like, the Gorman resistance, they have weapons now, and he's like, we're counting on that. And so that seems to be interesting. And I'm also very curious about Cyril and Enza, because there's a moment in the episode where he kind of finds her, and he's like, listen, it's not too late to stop what's going on. There seem to be outside agitators that are escalating things. I can help you, pin information on these agitators, so you guys don't basically you guys don't take the brunt of it. I don't know if that's supposed to simulate, signal to the audience that there's some kind of relationship going on right there, because like she slaps him and walks away. So something happened within that year that obviously we are missing out. Maybe we'll learn about it in episodes 8 and 9. Or not 8 and 9. Yeah, 8 and 9. I'm just curious about it, because we do see Enza and the other rebels all arguing and it just at each other's throat. And the guy, I forgot his name, who carried Cinta's body in episode 6, he's there now. He's a part of it, which he probably would have been a part of it from the beginning if you asked him. He's just talking about how, like, if we let them take away, we're Gore. If we let them take that away from us, what are we then? And, it's just there's this whole conversation that goes on. Bix and Cassian are on their way home. They stop by to see a Force healer. Now, Maeva was not a big fan of Force healers. She had one bad experience with one, and that was enough to turn her off of them. But the Force healer kind of walks over. She can kind of sense something about Cassian, and she talks about how it's nice to have clarity, because sometimes it's easy to lose faith and things like that. And it seems like she saw something in Cassian's future potentially. And even Bix was like, you scared him. And she was like, and the Force healer was like, I'm sorry. And she's like, he doesn't scare easily. And so she talks about, like, basically there's moments there, like basically destiny, like Cassian's destiny is leading up to something. He's like a messenger. He's traveling to a place. And so obviously we know what happens in regards to Rogue One and things like that. And then we do see, I forgot his name. He was in Rogue One. He was the one Cassian was reporting to. We do see him appear in this episode as Will and Cass take a U-wing, basically going to go to Gorman. But before we jump into that, Val's here. She's here on Yavin. She I think Bix said she had been smuggling for a while, but Val says she had been getting reckless and she just needed a break and that kind of thing. And so, and she talks about how, Dodonna, he's in Rebels, and we talk about how They were going to promote Cassian probably to captain and that kind of stuff. But he pulls the stunt of just leaving without permission and that kind of thing. But he's a leader now. People look up to him, and he basically needs to start, acting like it and things like that. So Will and Cassian make their way to Gorman. And then we see the guy. I don't think he had a name, but we see one of the guys that met Cassian the first time. He's working out like a hotel, and he's able to sneak Cassian a room, and just kind of give him heads up information like, hey, this person, the person next to me, she's going to basically report it in. They'll want lists and stuff like that in the afternoon, just kind of give him the heads up and everything like that. And he made a funny joke. He's like, you have to carry your own bag this time. And so Cassian's room is set up to look directly across into where what seems to be Deidre's office, potentially do a kind of assassination attempt on her. So that's pretty much how the episode ends. So this was relatively a short episode, just about 40 minutes, which I was okay with. I wasn't really mad about it or anything like that, but I am very curious to see on what happens these next two episodes. But that's pretty much it for episode 7 review, you guys. Be sure you hit that comment at the end of the video and that kind of stuff. But we're gonna quickly jump into episode 8 review. So let's do it. We are back with our episode 8 review of season 2 of Andor, and I honestly have to say this is probably the best episode of the series that I can think of. I think it's like I really will have to think about it, but I do think no. Well, I mean, there's been moments that were really good, but I don't think I don't even think in season 1, as good as season 1 was, I don't know if there was an episode as good as this one. Episode 8, we're back on Gorman. Everything that the Empire has been building up to was unleashed in this episode. It's crazy. This episode, everybody had been talking about the Gorman massacre even before the series started. When there were like clips and stuff like that, or like in trailers showing it, people were talking about how they're going to show the Gorman massacre. I'm not necessarily going to go step by step with the episode, just because there's a lot that happened. I'm just going to give you my overall thoughts about the episode and just how things ended up for certain people. So I mean, this was the thing about Andor. Both season 1 and season 2, it showed how dangerous and lethal the Empire is. Like, when the Empire wants something, they're going to get it, and they want this. They want the material that's in Gorman. They're going to get it, and so a lot of it was obviously Dedra probably didn't know anything about this, but she was talking to Pendergrass, and mining equipment had already been landing and being assembled on Gorman, and she didn't even know anything about it. And so Pendergrass is like, the Empire has waited long enough. We've been patient long enough. It's time to enact a plan to get what we want. And so basically the plan is, because the green recruits that we saw in episode 7. So the plan is they're building up these barricades. They're kind of fencing off the Imperial building, not necessarily the one that they built, but the one that was already there in the square. And they're opening it up and that causes everybody, including the Gorman resistance, to flock to the square. You see them grabbing like weapons and things like that. But this is part of the plan. This is what the Empire wants them to do. Even Enza's dad, as they're marching through the streets, chanting and everything, he realizes that this is a trap. We're doing what the Empire wants, and like everybody is just going, everybody's just chanting, like nobody's listening. Not even Enza's listening, and he even tries to say to her, "You can stop this," and I don't know what he was doing during the time, but he was potentially trying to stop it, but it was just there was no stopping it. The wheel had already turned, and everything was already happening. There was no going back after this, and so um, Cassian, meanwhile, uh, sees what's going on, calls Will. They didn't know anything about it. One of the resistance people come down. They let them know what's going on, and that's when they start gathering up the weapons and stuff like that to go to the square and everything, and to protest, resist, whatever you want to call it. And again, this just falls into what the Empire wants. They want them to do it. They're counting on them to do it. And that was the thing that Cassian talked about in last week's episodes, where these they're not ready. They can't spot it. They can't smell out a trap by the Empire, and they fell for it. I mean, I don't really know what has happened in that year span between episode, like 5 and 6 up into 7 and 8. I assume with the help of Luthen, they have been hitting Imperial targets on Gorman here and there, but it's crazy, and you can see Dedra having like second thoughts. Cyril, he that was intense because he went into the building and like this one of the security guys told him to wait right here. Let's make sure we want to make sure everything's secure. And like he walks in, he's in a room full of security droids, like K2SO type of drop. I'm not sure what they're called, but he's there amongst them. They're just sitting there, and they all look at him first, and they all turn their heads back to doing what they're doing, except for one. One is like staring right at him. But he eventually makes his way to Dedra, and he's like, "What's going on?" and everything, and he puts his hands on her, and he was like, "If you tell me a rumor, I'm gonna toss you out the window." Like she had been keeping secrets from him this entire time, and basically, I mean, to be fair, Dedra was like, you didn't seem to mind all those promotions and everything, and he's just distraught by everything, and like he looked like he was about to choke Dedra out, and he was not happy. And so he leaves out, and there are moments where like him and Cassian are moving about the crowd and they're missing each other, different instances, and then Enza's father does find Cyril, and he's just like, how could you do this and everything, and you dare to walk among us and everything like that, everything you've done, everything you caused, and oh, it's rough. It's rough, and like you have all these Gorman filing into the plaza, chanting, everything. You have TIE fighters screeching overhead. You have stormtroopers and Imperial security forces just stationed around it, and Dedra's like, "Go find Cyril. Don't let him leave the building." That's when Prendergrass is on the line and basically tells her to proceed. And Captain Kaido proceeds. He's like, "Get me Channel 5." And they put a sniper up top. That's gonna spark the whole thing. And he I had thought what was gonna happen was they were going to have a TIE fighter fly over, and then as it flew over, he was gonna fire a shot, because what they did was Captain Kaido, he sent the sergeant and these green recruits that we saw in episode 7 out into the crowd and did exactly what plan. They went according to plan. They went out to the crowd. The crowd's getting a little feisty, getting a little angsty. The sniper takes a shot, kills one of the green recruits, and then the sergeant tells them to grab him, open fire, and fall back. And then that's when we see all the stormtroopers around start firing at everybody. And it just erupts into just a massive, utter chaos in this plaza. Everybody's like, rebels pull out their blasters. Everybody's firing at each other. People are being hit. People are like just being killed left and right. And meanwhile, Cassian is still kind of doing his thing where he's trying to take out Dedra, but he keeps missing opportunity after opportunity. We do see like the hotel guy that Cassian talked to in episode 7 that kind of gave him the room. He takes like a thermal detonator and tosses it, and like I was like, oh no, not you, man. And I thought you might make it, but no, like I suppose he dies in the explosion, and everything. And then Kaido sends out the droids, and oh my god, these guys were terrifying. They like, one walks up to a barricade, kicks it, it launches and just launches people into the air. One of them grabs Enza and tosses her halfway across the plaza, killing her on impact once she hits the ground. And there's just shots all over the place where you see stormtroopers are firing at civilians, rebels firing at stormtroopers and droids. The droids are picking up people and slamming them halfway across the plaza. It's just utter chaos. Like, it's insane was what's going on in this plaza. And then we get a moment where Cyril finds Cassian, the man that caused all his downfall in season 1. He finds him. They go at it. They go toe to toe with each other. And Cyril was able to grab Cassian's blaster. Looks like he's about to fire. And Cassian is like, "Who are you?" And then it looks like Cyril is going to lower the blaster, but then is killed by Enza's father. And like, imagine that, like, you've been looking for this guy ever since season 1. You find him, and he doesn't even know who you are, and then you die at the very next minute. Like, I'm curious on, like, would he have let that anger that he had for Cassian, all the stuff that happened in season 1, would he have let that go? Because it looked like he was lowering the blaster. It looked like he was, now he could have had a change of heart maybe, but it looked like he was not going to shoot at Cassian. But we won't know because Enza's dad shoots him. Wilman finds him, and they make their way out of the plaza. And Will is like, "I gotta go back for Brenna, Drina. I forgot her name. His girlfriend, basically." And Cassian's like, "No, we gotta go. We gotta find a ride to get to the ship. We gotta get out of here." And then Will's just insisting on he's not leaving without her. That's when we just see a guy goes flying, hits a wall, and it's one of the security droids, and it's the one that ultimately becomes K2SO. And they're just firing at him, and one of the rebels that got out crashes the droid into a wall and kind of cuts it in half. Will tells Cassian to go; he'll be fine, and everything. You got to tell people what happened here, Cassian. They help him load the droid onto the transport, and Cassian makes his way out. He turns on the radio. You hear Will's girlfriend on the radio, just on all channels, telling people what's happened and everything. And it's just utter chaos. You see the smoke in the background. You see Cassian. What he witnessed is just the emotions that he must be going through right now, and just like the evil of the Empire is just is why you're fighting. You know, it's why you're fighting against the Empire. It's why other people are fighting against the Empire. It was a crazy episode. Like I mean I literally insane how this episode went down. It was just and you see that like afterwards, Deidre kind of like she's trying to gather herself, and like you see her hand trembling, you see her like pull down her shirt, and I was just like, yeah, that uniform probably fits differently now after everything that just happened. And she hasn't even found out that Cyril has died. And then we get a shot of back on Coruscant, Cyril's mother, and probably some friends of her watching as like one of the reporters is just talking about what just happened on Gorman and everything. And I like the mom was a jerk in both this season and last season. She was a terrible person to Cyril, but like the look on her face, just the mother's look and just a tear going down her face was just it broke me, because even though she was a bad mother to Cyril, she still loved him. That was her son. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is insane. This is probably the best episode of Andor. Like, and I mean, you have like the prison arc with Andy Serkis. You have Luthen's speech in the first season, and probably a few others here and there. And then, but like out of all the 8 episodes that I've currently reviewed up to this point, nothing has come close to this episode. Episodes 4, 5, and 6 as an arc felt more like season 1 Andor. This also feels relatively like Andor. It's such a good show. It was so crazy. I can't believe what we just watched with this Gorman massacre. I am very curious to see, which we're about to hop into. I'm very curious to see what is episode 9, because episode 9 is titled "Welcome to the Rebellion." So this is probably where we're going to get Mon Mothma's speech and everything. This is probably where she officially leaves the Republic to basically be the leader of the rebellion and that kind of thing. Kind of what we saw in not Rogue One, Star Wars Rebels as well. So I wonder if we'll get like not like a cameo, but like a nod to that episode of Rebels that Mon Mothma appears in. I am curious about that, but we'll definitely see. But guys, don't go anywhere. We're about to jump into episode 9 of Andor. Let's do it. What's up, everybody? We are back with our episode. Oop, I did not change this because I jumped right into it. All right, we are in with our episode 9 review of season 2 of Andor, and this arc, episodes 4 through 9 have been absolutely spectacular. Just great content, great Star Wars. Episode 9, we pick up with the aftermath of Gorman. Mon Mothma is giving her speech. Well, we see that Senator Oren, who is the senator for Gorman, is getting arrested by stormtroopers. And you see everybody's around, everybody's talking, everybody's like stormtroopers in the Senate, and everybody's just talking about what's going on. We see Bail. He talks with Mon Mothma. It's good to know that he has been a part of everything that's happened, which makes sense because there was, as I was watching it, I was thinking back of that deleted scene from Revenge of the Sith that had Padme, Mon Mothma, Bail Organa, and other senators as well, kind of like the pre-rebellion meeting and gathering and discussing things. So he and so Mon Mothma's just like, it's just the Empire's out of control. We all know it. Everybody sees, but nobody's going to say anything. Nobody's going to talk or anything like that. We all know that the Empire is just definitely out of control. And she's like, Mon Mothma's going to give a speech, and she tells She tells Bell that they both need to be ready to leave and head to Yavin once the speech is done. But Bell is kind of like, no, I have to stay to buy you time. Yavin isn't ready. We're not ready. I have to try to stall as much as possible to get the rebellion up and running as it needs to be. And Mon Mothma needs to go to be the face of the rebellion. And he's just like, Mon Mothma's just like, you'll be a hostage, and it's a very dangerous situation. This episode was so tense. Like everything was happening so fast. And then we come to find out that Eskin, if I said his name correct, he had been hired basically by Luthen 2 years ago after the wedding. Because Bale mentions to her that they bugged Senator Ton's office. And so Eskin and while they're inside her office, they are scanning and they found a listening device, which she smashes, which alerts to the ISB who is listening. Because you see, like, they have like they had like several other listening devices tuned into like particular people who required more attention be paid to within the Senate, just mainly individuals. And she goes out for a walk to practice her speech while Erskine is looking around, double checking, make sure there's no other devices in the room. Luthen finds her and basically it's kind of like she was like, oh man, she brought up Tay and she was just like how quick Luthen was to get rid of him, and Luthen was just like, oh, another fallen savior and everything. It's just he tells her she can't trust Bail Organa's team. They're compromised. He doesn't know much, but he knows you can't trust them. You can't go with them. He's sending somebody he can trust to make sure you get out and get to Yavin. It's crazy. Like the whole episode was just literally insanity with everything that's going on. And so we do see that Kayla is getting everything ready for Cassian, because Cassian's going to be the one to extract her after her speech and get her to where she needs to go. Cassian tells her, he's like, after this, I'm done. I'm out. And Kayla's just like, you witnessed a Gorman massacre, and you want to be out after that, after you just witnessed what the Empire did, what the Empire had been sowing on Gorman the past couple of years. You're going to walk away after you watch hundreds of innocent civilians get slaughtered by the Empire. You're just going to walk away. And then he was just like, because it makes it seem like if she talks, you may have to, take her out. And so it's high intent. It's high intent. And obviously Luthen tells Mon Mothma that the person he is sending is going to tell you he has friends everywhere. You need to remember that. I have friends everywhere. Remember that phrase. That's so you know that somebody is mine, or that at least the person that I sent is going to get you out. And so Cassian goes as his mid-rim network self, is able to get into the building and get ready to go. He meets Erskine, he takes him where he needs to go, and all the while Kayla and Luthen are talking. They got to be ready to go, because they didn't know if Mon was going to give the speech or not, because she had kicked Erskine out after she found out that he had been working for Luthen the past 2 years. Luthen and Andor and Cassian have a conversation as well in regards to like Luthen, they're going to come after you, and because there's still loose threads or bridges that need to be burned and things like that. Because don't forget, Lonnie is still a part of the ISB. So is Luthen potentially going to silence Lonnie so he doesn't say anything? That's an interesting question. There are still bridges that need to be burned. Um, and he's just like, listen, just reminiscences about the first time they met and everything. And every time Luthen needed Cassian, he had been there. He just names out like Ferrex, Mina Rao, um, Aldani, so on and so forth. Cassian has been there each time Luthen needed him to be. Um, and so we go to the Senate, and each of these senators are giving their talks, their talking points about like blaming everything on Gorman and everything. But then Bail Organa, what was pretty cool was you got to see a little bit more politicking that you don't get to see as much in Star Wars. You got some of it in the prequel series. It was pretty cool to see it here as well. And then Mon Mothma gives her speech, and just like as she mentions Emperor Palpatine's name, they shut down the broadcast. Cassian's there to get her out. Now, Bail Organa's team, the woman on the team, was an ISB agent, and so she got caught talking to one of her superiors, killed one of Bail's team members, and as Cassian grabs Mon, they make their escape. They run into him. She pulls out a blaster. It gets a standoff, and Erskine's like, she's a rebel spy, distracts her, gives Cassian the open to shoot her, and like Mon Mothma is just like, she's taken back by this. Like again, she hasn't had a need to be in the front like that. And so Erskine's like, they pointed at the other guy, and he's like, I'm not with them. I just met her today, and that kind of thing. So they don't know if he's an Imperial spy or whatever. Erskine's like, I'll take care of it. Cassian's like, we need 3 minutes, and he's like, I got you. I'll get it taken care of. I don't know if he shoots the guy. He probably does. I don't know, but they make their escape. The ISB is trying to shut down the building, keep everyone from leaving, making sure Mon Mothma doesn't get away, and all the while, her driver, I forgot his name, but he's just sitting there listening to everything. He gets out of the car. He goes up to the Senate building, I guess to look for her, and he does run into her. And Mothma mentions that he's an ISB plant, so you can't trust him. And Cassian kind of coys with him and then shoots him. And I kind of felt bad for him. I really felt bad for him. Like he was an ISB plant. I don't think he was a bad guy. It just sucked. It sucked for him. And so they're able to take his car, escape, and make it to the safe house where Erskine is there, Kayla is there, and even Will and Brenna or Drena or Drina. I don't know why I can't remember her name, but they were also there too. And so they were able to get off of Gorman. And so they all make their way, except for Kayla and Mon Mothma. She's coming a different route because she's going to make a speech, which is, I think, the speech we see in the Rebels. I don't know if we'd see it or not, but I would have loved to see that. I don't think I would have needed to see like her on the ghost ship, but at least her giving the message. I would have loved to see that, and I feel like that's a missed opportunity. Now, again, you could just go watch Rebels for that particular scene, but I think it's a missed opportunity not to have that in this series. Now, again, we don't know. It's probably we're not going to see it because we are going to about to jump ahead to the final 3 episodes of the series. But they all make it back to Yavin. They get Will to the hospital and call it a day. Like, we're done for the day. He makes it back home. He sees Bix and he kind of tells her that, like, you know, we can leave. We can go somewhere quiet. We can go live our lives. And Bix is just sitting there listening. Come to find out in the morning, she left and talking about how if he left the rebellion because of her, she would have felt guilty about it. She's leaving for the rebellion. because we gotta win. And she says, I feel like you have a purpose in all this. And she said, when this is all over, I'll find you, and we'll get to do all the things that we've talked about doing. We all know that doesn't happen, and that kind of sucks because we already know the outcome for Cassian. Like, it's just because it really, really sucks that you already know the outcome, and just hearing her talk about how once this is done, once we've beaten the Empire, I'll find you. We can do all the things we want to do, and all that. We can live our lives. But I'm curious on the final episode if we get some kind of like maybe like, I doubt it, but maybe we get something like Bix coming across Scarif and like making a memorial for Cassian or something like that, or because I don't know, something like that. We'll see. We'll have to wait and see for next week. But Bix is gone. It's a weird thing too, especially like with her arc that she had this season. But it is what it is. Somebody comes to find him and tell him they're about to power up the KX droid that he brought back with him from Gorman. And lo and behold, we get K2S2 or K2SO, and hearing that voice again, it makes me so happy. He is one of my favorite droids of Star Wars. These final 3 episodes are going to be crazy because we're getting into the final moments leading up to Rogue One. So I'm curious because like Dedra's still there. Like, what's going to happen with her? Like, there's still parts or people that we don't know what happens to. Dedra, Luthen, Kayla. Like what happens to these people leading up to the events of Rogue One? And it's going to be so interesting to see what's going to happen in these final 3 episodes. I will definitely go ahead and say right now, when you combine both Andor season 1 and 2 with Rogue One, this is probably top 5 Star Wars for me. Rogue One was already top 5. This just solidifies it for me. I think, I think it really, really solidifies it for me because everything about this series has been outstanding. I love Rogue One. I can't wait to see what happens with the final 3 episodes of Andor season 2. But man, what a crazy episode 7, 8, and 9. And like I said, I look forward to seeing what happens next week with the series finale. But guys, that's relatively it. If you're new to the channel, be sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Be sure you comment below. Tell me what you thought. And I will see you guys in the next video. Y'all have a good one.